Mary, if you feel like there is a really compelling question that you're seeing come in through chat, interrupt me. Otherwise, we can take all the questions at the end. Okay, welcome everyone. I'm so glad you're here. This is a wonderful workshop to be doing because one of the things that is super important during this time, not only just graduating normally, or some of you may not be graduating, but you just need to get a good resume together. And I know you all can book an appointment with a career advisor in our office, but sometimes it's just nice to jump on one of these, have the quick 101 how to do it, and then you can be on your way because a lot of you are really self-sufficient. So that's fantastic. Like Mary said, I'm the Director of Career Development Services, so I hope that you can enjoy this workshop. You'll see that you are learning about resume, but you're also learning about cover letters. Why? Well, because they go together like peanut butter and jelly, right? If you're gonna learn about one, I have to teach you about the other one as well. So you'll get that near the end. Okay, let's start out a little bit about really just think, and I'm not going to do a lot of Q&A back and forth on this, but I really want you to think for a minute, what is the purpose of a resume? And you want to think through, why do we do this? And really what the purpose is it's to get the interview. So it's plain and simple. You have to take that step from resume to interview to job. You can't jump from resume to job. So really it's step by step. You need to have that good first impression on a resume to be able to get them to call you, to come in, and that's where you sell yourself, okay? The second question for you to think about too is, how long do recruiters take to read a resume? This is really important when you are crafting it. We spend hours sometimes writing that resume and rewriting that resume and editing and proofing and doing all of this work. And guess what? They spend an average of 12 seconds looking at that resume. That is really sad and pathetic, in my opinion, after all that work that we do. So it's really important to have formatting attractive. It's really important to have those bullet points and those action verb statements really attractive and fast and easy to read. And I'm going to show you how to do that today, okay? So we're going to go through a bunch of resume must-haves. And these are going to be the things that you must focus on to be able to see what is happening and be able to create that resume that is going to be attractive. Okay, the first one is your header. Okay, what do you think is the most important item on this document besides your name? I'll let you think about that for a second. Well, it's actually your phone number, followed closely by your email address. Because, remember, we're writing the resume to get the interview. So if they're looking at your resume and they think, oh, I want to bring this person in, they're probably going to call you first and say, hey, can we schedule something? Can we schedule a first interview? Can we schedule a phone screen? What can we do here? They may email you to schedule the phone screen. So you definitely want to make sure those two are on there. They're on there looking appropriate. You want to have that professional voicemail on your phone. A lot of employers have told us that they prefer to hear your actual voice instead of the generic one that's just the robot listing it off. They want to hear, hi, this is Rose Fuller. Please leave a message. That's all you need to do. It can be really easy. But then they know that they've gotten the right person. The email address needs to be professional. Using your Eagle email is fine. If you're going to move to something else, have it be normal, you know, nothing like hotgirl@Yahoo or anything like that. You want to get rid of all of those. I am admitting somebody. Okay, perfect. And then if you have a LinkedIn URL, that is a really great place to put it, your LinkedIn connection there. So you must customize that. And if you don't know how to customize a LinkedIn URL, all you need to do is Google that. And there's like 4 easy steps on how to do that. Back up to the top. Your name obviously is first. It needs to be big and bold. This is your introduction. This is, hello, it's me. It's Rose Fuller. Hello. And so I always recommend a 20-point font at that point. The rest of the document should all be the same size font in either 11 or 12-point font. If you're moving down to 10, You want to be really careful about how much information is on there, because sometimes it's very difficult to see that depending on if it's on a computer or printed. And then the last thing I want to mention about the header is that your mailing address is now kind of an optional thing to put on. The trends are indicating that it's not necessary. The only time I would probably recommend it is if you're trying to relocate, and maybe you're trying to be, maybe you're going to be in Tampa by December, and that's where you want to look for a job. So maybe you have your parents' address or a good friend's address that you can utilize in Tampa to show that you're local, sort of. And so that's an okay option to use an address. Otherwise, I really don't think you need it, because everything else is pretty obvious in your resume about where you're probably living. Okay, so let's move on. Here's just some examples of what a header would look like. A couple of different styles. So as you can see, this takes up 4 lines. So depending on how much information you have, you may need to move to something that's like this, 2 lines or even 3 lines, because you may need to condense the lines that you have on your resume. So pay attention to the spacing that you need. Maybe if you don't have enough information, a 4-line header would be okay, because then it's actually taking up some space and helping you with that. Okay, must-have number 2. And this is really important to think about, because this is where you are listing probably the most important thing that will sell you. So when you think of when you walk into, say, let's say you walk into Lowe's and you need to buy a new microwave, and you walk up to the microwave section and you're thinking, oh my gosh, there's 20 microwaves here. What in the world? How am I gonna pick? Okay, so then you start to take the papers up and you start looking at it, and then you start narrowing down maybe by color, then you narrow down by size, and then you pick up the papers and you think, why is this one better than this one? And you start to read from the top to the bottom. That's kind of similar with a resume. Your highlighted information, the best things that you're selling about yourself, should be at the top. And at this point in your career, a majority of you may have 1 internship, maybe 2, maybe you don't even have an internship and you're looking for an internship right now. But this is the point where your education is your top seller. So you want to have that at the top, okay? You also want to spell out your university in full, and that's showing respect. It's showing respect for your Bachelor of Arts degree. So the shortened versions just isn't good enough, in my opinion. Then you want to make sure you're listing your graduation date. So I'm expecting to graduate in May 2021, maybe it's May 2020. Then they have an idea of where you are in the program. And then last, we only really recommend a GPA if it's above 3.5, or if you're in a field of healthcare, sometimes you need it, and then accounting and finance, usually you most definitely need to list your GPA, because it's extremely important in that field. But really, honestly, everything else, they don't really care what your GPA is. They just want to see that you have your bachelor's degree. And then the last section is very optional, the relevant coursework. I really only recommend relevant coursework if you are still an undergrad and you're not about to graduate. By the time you've graduated, they have a pretty good idea of what your degree will consist of, so you don't need to list those courses. The only other exception is if you are graduating with an integrated studies degree, and that sometimes is a mystery to some employers, and they don't really quite understand that. So if you're kind of creating a path for yourself with that integrated studies degree, you definitely want to think about listing the coursework that's very important that you took in that degree. So that will be a really important part as well. And then finally, high school information needs to be removed. The only time we recommend that you keep any high school information, whether it be listing your graduation certificate or any other relevant high school experience, is when you are maybe a freshman, maybe a sophomore, depending on where you're at. But if you are a junior or a senior or about to graduate, absolutely no high school. Take it all off.
Rose, we have a quick question from Rachel. She wanted to know, is this where you would include your internship?
No. And we will get to that. Great question. I'll show you where to include your internship because we're going to want to utilize as much as possible with that internship and leverage that. Great question. Do we have anything else?
That's the only question we have at the moment.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to must-have number 3. All education and all experience needs to be listed in reverse chronological order. So that means the most recent going backwards. Pretty simple. You can rearrange things based on what is most important, and I'll show you that in must-have number 4. Must-have number 4 is about accomplishment statements, okay? One thing I want to point out is here is probably the most related, and this goes back to the question that was just asked, is this is where you would list the internship, right? This is right after the education. We're going to list the internship and really highlight all of the things that you did to succeed in that internship and your accomplishments right here, right below the education, because that's probably the number 2 thing that you will be selling about yourself. Your number 1, again, is your degree, and number 2 is then your internship or a related work experience or service learning experience that was going in the direction that you're trying to get a job in. Okay, so back to accomplishment statements. This is the section we really want to pay attention to because this is where you're selling yourself. This is where you're developing the stories and the examples of past experience that you will demonstrate in your new role. So you do want to try to get quantifiable data if you can. Sometimes this is really difficult, but as you read this bullet right here, read, edited, and judged over 20 manuscripts. If they left the 20 out of there, that doesn't mean a whole lot. If they would have put 2, you're kind of like, okay, 2 manuscripts, but then 20 is really huge. I see a lot of that when somebody works at a restaurant and maybe they were appointed to train people. Maybe they were appointed to train the new people over and over and over again. Maybe they've trained 25 people. That's a big difference. And that also says to me as an employer, gosh, she must be really good at what she does because they asked her to do it 25 times with 25 new employees. So those are the things that you want to think about in quantifying. The other thing is you want to think about is outcomes and results, if you can possibly do that. Depending on the role and the experience you were able to get, sometimes that's a little more difficult than other times. And then you're going to talk about demonstrating the role. So in these bullets, you're going to do a combination of duties and accomplishments, okay? Duties are the things you had to do to get the job done. Accomplishments are the things that you brought to the table that made you unique and that you added value. You brought it to bigger. So maybe you saved the company money, maybe you reduced turnover, maybe you improved processes. That is an accomplishment statement. And they all should start with an action verb, and they should be in the proper tense. So if it is a past job, it should all be in past tense verbs. If it is a present job, it should be in present perfect verbs, which means just serve, develop, no INGs, not serving, not developing, just develop and serve. So present perfect tense. Okay. Now I'm going to get into what does a duty versus an accomplishment. I wanted to give you a quick example. I'm going back to the restaurant industry again, just to show you. So if you were a host, say you were a host at a restaurant and your duty would be to seat the people at their tables in an efficient or in an organized way, right? That's a duty. That's what you were hired to do. The accomplishment would come in is that you saw an opportunity on the seating chart to revamp it, to make it more productive and efficient and quick. So if you think about that, that is where you added value as a person yourself. That is an accomplishment that you came to the table. So that would be something you would want to highlight. So let's go to the next statement. Here's how to write these accomplishment statements. You want to think about, what did you do? What is that action? Then you want to think about, well, what is the project or the problem? What did I do for that? And then the third was, what was the result? That's very important to kind of tie it and make it into a nice, what we like to call a beefy bullet statement. So if you go down here, you think about what I was working on a training manual. Well, what did I do? I actually developed the whole training manual. And then why? To provide job instructions for new hires, right? So this is your bullet. Develop a training manual to provide job instructions for new hires. Same thing. What was it? Social media. What did I do? I managed it. And what happened? It resulted in a 20% increase of web traffic. There's your whole bullet. Same thing down here. Flyers and posters. What did I do? I created them. Why? To promote student participation. Here's another great bullet. Create flyers and posters to promote student participation. Done and done. Those are really great. And then here are the skills, right? These are the skills you are demonstrating in here in the red. That we'll talk about in just a second, but this is how you show your skills in the jobs that you've done by creating good accomplishment statements. Okay, do we have a question or are we good? Okay, yes, thank you, Ashwith. We will get to the cover letters as well, just a minute. Okay, let's move on to must-have number 5. Always tailor your resume and cover letter. So why do we tailor a resume, right? That's important to think about. Well, you want to appear more qualified for the job, and the employer will generally be impressed that you took the time and effort to customize your resume for them. You want to package yourself as that perfect candidate for this particular job. And then that is also presenting that strong personal brand that you are thinking about pushing out there. So you definitely want to tailor. And what tailoring means is trimming, taking things off that aren't relevant, putting things up, maybe higher up if it's more important depending on the job. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Okay, additional resume tips. So number 1, avoid templates. They all look alike. They are inflexible. You cannot put things where you want to put them. And sometimes employers just sort of breeze right past them because they think, oh, they're not really going above and beyond to write their own resume. The other one we talked about fonts, make sure it's consistent. 1 page is important. This is really, really important. I still can't tell you how many times employers have told us there needs to be no 2 pages. We just can't handle that. There's a lot of ways to manipulate the paper, the document. If somebody is really trying, you can email me directly and I will help smash it onto 1 page or help you trim things that are unnecessary. But really, where most of you are at in your careers, unless you've got 10+ years of work experience, we say 1 page only. And I see a question coming up. When you say 1 page, does that just mean 1 side? Yes, that means 1 side. Yes. Okay, 4th bullet, avoid personal pronouns and no I statements. So you remember your resume is not a blog. It is not a place for feelings and emotions and personal opinions. This is all factual fragment action verb statements. So this is the space right here on a cover letter. Save your document with a name in the title. This is really important. I can't tell you how many times in my own searches that I'm looking for candidates for positions that everybody saves their resume as my resume. That doesn't help me when I'm downloading it. And I've got 4 my resumes in there. I can't quickly pull off the person's name. So I would recommend resume. I do resume _ R Fuller _ and then the date. It's really important for me to stay current on what's happening. No references on the resume. That's really important. References should be an entirely separate professional document, and you should only submit references when asked for, okay? Because those are the people that are going to fight for you the most and tell the best things about you. So you want to protect their personal information, because a lot of times it is their personal cell phones and personal email addresses that you're putting out there to collect. And then don't forget there's other kinds of sections that you can create with lots of different names on it. So this is an opportunity for you to be creative. Okay, so regardless of the position, what do employers look for in candidates? Well, obviously we know that they want direct experience if possible. If not, then there's also your transferable skills. So what are transferable skills, you say? Sometimes it's pretty obvious. They are the things that you've gathered through volunteer, your service learning, maybe your part-time jobs, any kinds of hobbies, maybe sports, other life experiences, anything that you've done where you've dug in and gotten some experience, you've probably gained skills. And so those are the things you can highlight as you move forward. So I could have a couple groups of people right now listening to this, and it's really important because these are the top skills that NACE has identified. NACE is the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they've identified this because they've asked employers, what do you need? And the employers have said back, we need people with these skills most. And so this is what they've identified. So if this is you creating your resume to move in your career path, you need to highlight these skills. Maybe I'm going up here and circling pivoting because maybe you're in a career field right now and there's no jobs because of the coronavirus. Well, it's time to start thinking about pivoting into a new career. And some of you were on my pivoting workshop a couple of days ago, but this is how you take these skills and you shift them, okay? So you want to be able to plug them into a new industry. There's also some sort of secondary skills that are extremely important that you can promote about yourself as well. One of the top ones right down here, adaptability, is what they're saying over and over and over again about this new coronavirus COVID environment. So you want to think about utilizing all of these skills in some way or another and dribbling them into your resume, dribbling them into your interviewing, into your cover letters. I personally think that you should identify the skills in the direction of that you're going. So if you're looking at a job posting that says we need people with problem solving, organization, and creativity, then gosh, I think those would be your top skills that you want to identify as you're moving forward in your resume, your cover letter, and your interviewing. So match those skills to the jobs that you are applying for. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how do I include these transferable skills in my resume. This is kind of hard. So the first way is the normal, what we just showed you, is the bullets under your experiences should illustrate your accomplishments and showcase your skills. We just talked about how to include those with the action verb statements. The second way is if you're pivoting into a new career field, you can showcase a new section on your resume entitled accomplishments, and then break it out by the skill sets in the direction that you're heading. So if the new career that you're excited about really says over and over again, customer service, communication, and sales are the top things that they're looking for, you can break down some of your actual accomplishments, right? So associate of the month, this is a big accomplishment. I ordered and organized. I served as a member of the improvement team. I promoted and resulted in a 15% increase in new clients over a 3-month period. These are actual accomplishments, things that you did, again, to add value into that role. So this would be a section. I'll show you it a little bit larger. So here is an example of a resume with that kind of a section in it. So you'll see the education is at the top. Then you move down into this skill-based, organized accomplishment statements. And then you move down into the experience itself. So maybe this intern role was a little bit bigger. Maybe it had 5 or 6 bullets, but I moved a couple of them into here. And maybe this had a couple more too, but I pushed them up into here. So we're really highlighting the actual things that you did, whereas now these bullets are a little bit more of the duties, which is again okay to do, and it's showcasing that, and then it moves through the rest of the resume. So right here is a good example of the formatting that we recommend as well. Over on the right-hand side, you're putting some of the non-essential things like dates and locations, and you're spreading out the piece of paper so that there's kind of equal weight on each side. And then you're utilizing the bolding so that when that employer goes, their eye goes down the side of the resume, their eye goes down the resume, all of the important things are popping off, because remember, you only have 12 seconds to sell yourself. So we're looking at the really important things. And then the the actual headers for each section are highlighted, but they're not overwhelming. So they actually pull out as well. And then of course we have action verbs starting each of our bullet in the proper tense. Okay. This actual resume we are going to post on our website for you to take a look at and to utilize for your own and to model after. You can plagiarize anything you want on this. We've created this for you. So this will be on our website. We're creating a new bubble called resources, and this will be in that new bubble for the stuff that we're creating during the coronavirus. Okay, so suggestions during this COVID time, right? So the first thing that I want you to think about for everything is tailor it. Tailor it, tailor it, tailor it. So if you're one of those sort of job pivoters and you're going to need to go into sort of a new industry because let's say the job that you were thinking you were going to do isn't hiring right now and may not be for a while, you need to shift. And so you want to tailor that resume towards that. And I just showed you 2 different ways to do that. Definitely, like I said earlier too, use keywords from that job posting, the direction that you're heading, use that language. Have it reviewed again and again and again. This is no time because there's no excuses for grammar or spelling or formatting errors. You have all the time in the world right now that you need to crush the basics. This is the important time. This is what you should be thinking is like, if it's all about resumes, interviewing, networking, and LinkedIn, all of that stuff should be about perfect if it's possible. All right, I'm seeing a question. If you're about to be a junior but had a job in high school that relates to our major, should we include it? I would say maybe. So it may depend. If it was really important and you feel like you haven't been able to get better experience since, then yes. If you feel like you've overcompensated now and you have better experience going forward, then you may want to drop it. I think it will just depend on how much other stuff you have on there. Okay, so bottom line, you got to get this stuff down if you're going to get ahead during COVID. Okay, additional sections we talked about briefly earlier. You can put a lot of different areas on depending on what's important in the direction you're heading. I'm going to give you a second to look at those. Remember, it's all about relevancy. What is relevant? Okay, I get this question a lot. What is a master resume? You might hear that term. So a master resume may be everything that you've kind of ever done. And that's just your go-to when you're getting ready to tailor a resume towards a new job posting. So then you would pick and choose and you would take out and delete and add in and rearrange from that master. So the master is probably something you would really actually never submit for a job because it's just too much information. And then what's a CV? A CV is much longer than a resume. This is very typical for academic research and a lot of times healthcare settings. And it may be sort of every research project you ever were in, every presentation that you've ever done, maybe every conference that you've ever been to, every kind of certificate that you ever had. It can be many, many, many pages, and that's okay as well. I see the chat coming up. That high school, you're continuing through college, and I mentioned I've been involved since high school. If it's relevant in the direction that you're going in, yes, you can continue to add it on there. Good question. Okay. So we're going to move into cover letters. But before that, any last questions about resume? We can come back to it at the end, but just as it's coming up. Let's see. Okay. We'll go into cover letter. So why do we write a cover letter? I said they go together like peanut butter and jelly. Well, the reason that we write a cover letter is that we are bringing together the connection of why on a personal level I would be a good choice for this job and this role, and to show that I have done some research and I am actually really engaged in this particular job. Okay. So This is a great definition. The resume focuses on you in the past. The cover letter focuses on the employer and the future. So you're telling them what you can do to benefit that organization. So that's a really good way to think about, now is my chance to convince them in a written form so I can showcase my writing skills, which is a really wonderful way to get ahead. But I can also talk to them from a soft skills perspective on how this is all coming together for me and how this connects. Okay, let's do a little cover letter Q&A first. So when should I submit a cover letter? Well, whenever possible. A lot of times you'll see job postings that say submit your resume. Well, you're only going to go above and beyond if you submit the resume and a cover letter for that particular job posting. So you always want to try to do that. Why am I doing this? I don't know. Well, we talked about that, to show a match of your skills to the job and how you can help the organization. What should I do first? Definitely analyze that job description, research the employer, pull that all together. You might be saying now, oh, that's a lot of work for every job I'm going to apply to. Right, it is. It can be a lot of work. You definitely want to pay attention to applying to jobs that are places that you really want to work and that are relevant. So you don't want to be just hitting apply, 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 because that's just a numbers game. You definitely want to pay attention and do a little research on where you'd like to be. Okay, Ashrith, we'll come back to your question at the end, okay? Perfect. Okay, what makes a successful cover letter? One that is void of typos and grammatical errors. Huge. I cannot tell you how many times, again, as a hiring manager, I have pulled up a cover letter and the wrong job title is listed in the first paragraph. Or I've gotten Florida Gulf, G-O-L-F, Coast University, totally insulting, right? Lots of little things that are really just, to me, I'm tossing this out. If you cannot pay attention to details, all I'm going to do is have an uphill battle with you if you can't figure this out, this simple part of this. So those are the kinds of things that I toss them out. And then how long should the cover letter be? No longer than a page. This is really important to remember. My personal litmus test is if I pick it up and I go, oh gosh, that's a long letter. That might be too long, right? So you want to kind of keep it to a good length. And I'm going to show you in this example next. Okay. So now we're looking at the cover letter. This is about a good length of a cover letter that you're going to want. It's got the appropriate amount of connection. You definitely want to utilize the same header that is on your resume. So make sure you're drawing that connection. Use the same font and the same font size. Then it'll look really connected. When possible, you want to address the hiring manager. If you can do a little digging and a little research, I would look that up. If you know the kind of place that you're trying to get into, you may want to think about, is it a hiring committee? What kinds of people? When in doubt, I would say, dear Human Resources Director, or dear, Neapolitan Marine Recruiter, things like that. I would not write to whom it may concern. I feel like that's really old, really outdated. Okay, let's go through the 3 parts of this cover letter. The first one is that intro paragraph. So you're telling them why you're writing, why you're excited. You're identifying the job, Public Relations Director. You're identifying where you saw it, Eagle Career Link. This is also a fantastic place if you know somebody. So Rose Fuller suggested that I apply for this position, meaning I know somebody, I work there, and that's where you would name drop in that first paragraph. The second thing, your second paragraph is your sales pitch. This is the most important part of the letter. And this is what's showing how you're the best candidate. It's drawing in information that you might have researched. It's tying in the skills that they are identifying in the job posting that are most important. You don't want to completely regurgitate your resume here. You want to summarize. You want to show a little bit of personality and that you are a good connection to this. And then the third paragraph is why this company. So maybe you can even do, if you haven't already dropped that you've done research up here, you can drop that you've done research down there. Maybe this is a great spot if you are relocating. I plan to be in Tampa, December of 2020. I can't wait to talk to you then, or whatever you're thinking. And then thank you, call me. I can't wait to talk to you, those kinds of things. Again, this is also on our resume already under the students and alumni dropdown. You'll be able to get in and utilize all of our cover letter guides, resume guides, everything. Okay, let's go through some last cover letter don'ts. Don't send a generic cover letter from a template. You definitely want to customize for each specific job. This is really important because, like I said, after reading lots of cover letters, I can tell immediately that they put zero to little effort in making it important to me. Don't repeat your resume bullets. We talked about that. Don't be too wordy. You want to make sure they're reading lots of them. So don't be overly wordy. You don't need to go overboard with flattery. That's, you know, just stick with what's professional and be mature about it. And then try phrases that are going to be confident, but yet not cocky, right? So instead of, I'll be a huge asset to your team, try, I would appreciate the opportunity to contribute as a part of your team. That's a little bit better language. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the free resources that we offer through Career Development Services at FGCU. We have a huge office and website. The website is already filled with most of our how-to resources. So we have lots of different examples of things on there, how to create the resume. There's a whole resume guide and packet. So you can pull off all that information. We have interviewing skills, we have LinkedIn skills, everything is already on our webpage. And then we, of course, we have our office with career advisors that can take you on a one-by-one basis. Okay, then we have, of course, our good old Eagle Career Link. This is where we host all of our jobs and our internships. It's also actually where you've been putting all of your service learning hours, but it's really important to go back to Eagle Career Link right now because this is where we're pushing all of our employers to get in contact with you. So this is a really hot place. Maybe you couldn't find what you wanted there before. You probably will find it now because it's really taking an up notch. All right. The Eagle Mentor Program. The Alumni Association is putting on this program and so few people know about it. It's a wonderful way for you to connect with an alumni or a community member in a field that you're excited about. So any of you people that are actually pivoting into new fields, this could be a wonderful resource to dial into, and you can put as one of, it's almost like it's a database matching. So there isn't any actual human beings matching per se, but it's a connection through a database. But you can put in a new industry if you're excited about learning about something, and maybe you gain a new connection in that area. The Chamber of Commerce's are wonderful resources. You can stop in, you can talk to them, send them emails, you can call them, you can connect through us. We're happy to connect with them. They are the link, the spoke of all of the different community employers. So if you have questions about that. And then one last one, if you're looking for an internship, it's pretty important to consult your internship coordinator during this time to see how things are changing. Okay, how do you go about doing the Eagle Mentor Program? Great question, Clarissa. They have a link on the Alumni Association page, webpage, and then actually, wonderful transition to my next page, is we have also created a resource guide during coronavirus. As you can see, these are all actual virtual links that you will be able to access. Right up here is the virtual link for the Eagle Mentor Program. And this is also going to be posted on our webpage in the new bubble called resources. So you guys will be able to access this. But this is, this resource guide came off after my pivoting workshop that I did last week. Virtual career fairs, who's hiring, you can get into that information. Here's some different remote work sites. contract workplaces, a couple of interviewing articles during this COVID time, networking, LinkedIn, graduate school information, and then continued learning so that you're continually doing something and building up your experience and your resume if you're out of work. This is, again, our virtual career resources handout, our flyer. And so here we are right here, the resume workshop, but we have an employer information session tomorrow. Suncoast Credit Union, they're hiring for many different kinds of positions and they don't all have to be in finance. Then we have an interviewing skills workshop next Tuesday, a virtual LinkedIn workshop on Thursday, and then we're going to redo pivoting the following Thursday as well. So those are going to be some really great workshops. Throughout the next month and summer and through the summer, we're going to continue with a lot of these virtual workshops in and similar format of this, and as well as the employer connections that we've been doing. There's also 2 career fairs coming up. They're virtual career fairs, one on April 22nd and then one on June 17th. We also have a service that we can connect students to employers that are willing to do a mock interview. If you're thinking, I'm about to graduate and I kind of want to network, I don't know a lot of people, we can connect you. So email us at our career center. And then of course, our good old career advising appointments that are all done over the phone. I think I saw a question here, chat. Okay, School of Business. Yes, you can see the School of Business person, that's Tifara Purdue. If you are in the School of Business and you need to talk about your internship, that would be the place to do it. Fantastic. Okay, so now we are moving through this last section of questions, and I am going to stop the share. And if you want to unmute everybody, Mary, we can kind of just have a conversation as well. It might be a little bit easier.
Okay. I have to figure that out. Isn't there like a button that says unmute all?
Yeah, hit manage participants. Okay, so are we all seeing each other now?
Yes.
Yes, okay, so not seeing slides anymore. Okay.
Just still trying to figure out how to unmute everybody.
Okay, let's see. I will unmute them all.
All right, guys.
There.
It's all a learning curve.
Okay, everybody's unmuted now. So do you have questions? Go ahead and shoot them out.
Come on, guys, you can do it. No questions this morning? Well, that must have been a really good presentation.
I encourage any of you that are making a pivot from one career field that they thought they were involved in, they were going to do, and then all of a sudden this COVID came and they're thinking, gosh, I really should shift into something else. I really encourage you to get on any more of the employer sessions that we do going forward to talk and to brainstorm and just think outside of the box of other things that you can do. And then I would recommend that that you do meet with one of our career advisors in terms of shifting that information on your resume. If you want to fine tune it, it's really important to make sure that it's looking good and in the direction that you're heading.
Okay. Thank you, Rose.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone, thanks for your attention. I hope you got something out of this. Go to our website. If you don't see that we have these resources posted right now, hopefully they will be like later today or tomorrow. Okay. All right.
I actually have a quick question.
Evan, go ahead.
If I'm in an organization like on campus, I'm actually in the Mango Review and it's kind of related to my major. Should I move that up anymore, or should I keep that down there below the education and below the work experience and stuff?
So that would be to think about how relevant it is, and if it's really relevant in the direction you're going in, and you can maybe put a bullet or two underneath it, something that has been really impactful, then yes, move it up a little bit more. Maybe you can make a relevant section, relevant experience section, and kind of trickle in things like that. A good way to think about, is it relevant or is it not relevant, is to think about if you're going to go into the interview, what are you going to talk the most about, right? So if you're going to talk about your club experience and your internship experience and maybe one particular work experience, those should all be near the top. If it's something that you've kind of, so I would hate for you to have that club experience tucked away down in one little line at the bottom when you can definitely highlight that later up and highlight it almost like a job. That's okay to do.
Yeah, I'd like to be in it all 4 years, so
yes,
hopefully it'll be relevant enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you.
Yep. Ashworth, did you have another question? Oh, what was your cover letter question? I'm sorry, Ashworth.
Yeah, it was.
You submitted cover letters, but you haven't heard anything back. Did you submit the cover letters with the jobs or with the resumes as well? You did.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. That's actually a really good question for everybody. He's saying he submitted applications, so cover letters and resumes together, and he hasn't heard back. My general rule of thumb is absolutely yes, you should try to follow up, okay? You're not always going to be able to, but at least try. So my rule of thumb is wait 1 week from the application submission. Then after 1 week, you can actually pick up the phone and try to get into their human resources or talk to the recruiter if you know, and say things and use language that is very neutral. So things like, I'm just calling, my name's Rose Fuller, I'm calling about the status of my application. Status is really neutral, right? So if you're saying things like that, then they're like, oh, well, let me check. And then they kind of click, 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 and they look through. Sometimes they'll have an opportunity to put a little note like followed up, and that shows persistence and excitement. And other times they'll just say, oh, they just started the process. You know, they're not going to call you for a month. Or maybe they'll say, oh, they've already selected somebody. Yeah, you weren't chosen. Sorry, you didn't get notified. Both of those are okay because you're getting information one way or the other. And that's kind of really what that's the goal. You just want information. You know that you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket and waiting to hear about one job before you move on. It's just kind of keeping you moving through the path. So it's definitely suggested and is okay to follow up.
Great. Anybody else? Everyone feel good? All right.
All right. Feel free to reach out to us at careercenter@fgcu.edu if you have more questions, or you can go on Appointment Manager and book an appointment with Adam, Raphael, or Sam. Okay?
Great.
All right. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.